Alright, so today I want to make a video about the Wexit or Alberta separation issue, and ever since the Trudeau government's been elected or re-elected, it's really been making a lot of news, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about if you're from the area, or even if you're Canadian, or even if you're American, because if it did happen, there was a possibility of joining the US, so it's a pretty big issue, and there's a lot of aspects on it. Number one, just for starters, obviously it's rather unlikely, but in my mind, I don't understand why. But let's read a little bit here about it. This is a Calgary Herald article, but it's a proposal that experts are calling an empty threat, an idea overblown by social media, and a scenario that Alberta is very, very far from. But proponents of separation say such a move could be achieved if the idea had support from a majority of its citizens. And to be honest, if it's not a majority of Albertans, it's got to be very close. And if the media covered it from an unbiased view, I would bet money that the majority of Albertans would support it. Since the October 21st election saw the federal Conservatives sweep all but one seat across Alberta and Saskatchewan, and Canada's Liberal Prime Minister re-elected, talk of independence is wrapped up. Online and Wexit rallies are planned in Calgary, Red Deer, and Edmonton next month. But one local expert suggests that rather than focusing political frustration on talks of separation and equalization, fixes to some federal provincial fiscal arrangements might result in more concrete changes for the West. University of Calgary economist Trevor Tomby sees the call for separation as an empty threat that will lead to more challenges for Alberta, such as building pipelines through other jurisdictions where Alberta and Ottawa could have a productive conversation. He added is around federal health and social transfers to provinces. Enlarging those payments, having them grow faster than just overall growth of the economy because of an aging population, that's something I think we need to talk about, Tomby said. Now, to be honest, I don't really want to read too much more about it because it's very painful. In that these people like this, they're always way too blindly believing in the system, I guess is the best way of putting it. In that Alberta and Saskatchewan, to a lesser degree, have been screwed over. Before the oil downturn, we were getting screwed over, but we were making a lot off it still. So it was. If you want to argue that it was a fair deal, I still don't think it was fair before, but I can understand it. At least Albertans were still doing good, but now we're not doing good on average, and we're not getting any help. And the other problem too is people like this have this blind belief that although if you're on the right or if you're on the left, we may disagree on policy, but we all want what's best for Canada, that kind of stuff. I don't believe that, because people's political beliefs and leanings is generally just an outward projection of what's best for them and what's best for those that are, their family, their friends, stuff like that. So expecting the Trudeau government and people in the East and people in Ontario and Quebec to talk with Alberta from an open mind, from an objective, truthful point of view, it's contradictory to everything that's in their best interest. What's in their best interest is to continue the way things are going. So what you're asking those people to do is to go directly against their own self-interest, and that's not going to happen. Like, expecting people to go directly against their own self-interest, it's not going to happen. And the other thing too is that a lot of these people in the East, they don't even recognize it. Like, they're just saying, well, it's more money for me. I don't care where it comes from, how it's taken, anything. Like, if people really cared about morals and ethics, they wouldn't be doing it in the first place. They wouldn't have supported it in the first place, because it's taken from Alberta by force. And the only way to get a fair shake, if we're Alberta and or Saskatchewan, is to leave. And the way that I would look at it, if we let's say there's a true, honest, let's say there's even a referendum that's planned out and put, the way that you would tell the more that Eastern Canada and the Trudeau government, people like that, fight a legit Alberta or Saskatchewan separation, the worse it looks on them. And that's for the simple reason that if they can truly, if Alberta is being completely selfish and not doing what's in the best interest of Canada, well, they wouldn't care. They'd let us leave, because we would leave, we would suffer, and we'd come crawling back. But they're not. They wouldn't do that. They would fight it tooth and nail, because people in the East they're addicted to getting free stuff and getting something for nothing, and the free stuff, getting free stuff, it literally gets bred into people, into their genetics, and that's why you see, I mean, it's a bigger problem in the U.S., but it's a problem in Canada too, that you have people that, for generations on end are living in, super low income, your Section 8 housing, that kind of stuff, because, like I said, the propensity to be on, low IQ, it's genetic, all this kind of stuff, it's overwhelmingly genetic. Now, there's some environmental factors to it, but it's overwhelmingly genetic. So the problem is these people in the East have gotten so used to getting something for nothing, having their big welfare state, having mass immigration, all this kind of stuff. I mean, we have immigration problems in Alberta, and we haven't let in nearly as many people as the Vancouvers and Toronto. I mean, Toronto is the biggest one. The crime is skyrocketing in Toronto, and it's overwhelmingly because of immigration. Let's just be honest. Now, again, just to point this out for anyone who's questioning that point, immigrant isn't a race, so it's not racist to point it out. It's also not racist when groups of people act differently. If you have two groups of people that act completely the same, judging one group differently would be sexist, racist, whatever ist or ism you want to call it. But when the groups act differently, that's not racist or sexist or whatever you want to call it ist. Because if that's the case, well then, charging young men more for car insurance would be sexist. But we all know that young men, on average, are more likely to, get tickets, get in accidents, all this kind of stuff. Therefore, they get charged more. And if judging groups of people differently based on when they're a different race, assuming that they act differently, which, immigrants from the third world, they use welfare much more than the average, white or Asian or, Canadian citizen. They commit more crime, all this kind of stuff. So judging them differently is not racist. And, if you went to up to a particular individual that's one of these immigrants and said I bet you're a criminal who's on welfare or something like that, yes, that would be racist. But judging groups of people differently when they act differently is not racist in any way, shape, or form. So I just wanted to clear that up. But I guess long story short with this, Albertans and to a lesser degree Saskatchewan, or I don't know exactly what they call them there, but people from Saskatchewan, we don't really have any balls, I guess is the best way to put it, in that we're thought of as this blue collar province of this kind of blue collar, we farmers and oil and gas workers, all this kind of stuff, but we let the rest of Canada push us around and we don't do anything about it. So it's the rest of Canada is considered to be, all of Canada, but the rest of Canada, especially, especially people in the Maritimes, you hear about, oh, they're so nice, and, they'll give you the shirt off their back. Well, they're really not, on average, in that they're nice if you keep giving them their free stuff, but the minute you try and take away their free stuff, all of a sudden things change. So, I don't want to talk too much about this issue because I could go on forever, but long story short, to sum it up, Canada is going very quickly down the toilet, in that immigration's at such a high level, the debt is at such a high level that Canada, people have gotten so used to such a high standard of living that we don't realize just how quick it could be taken away. And if we keep going down this path, we're going to realize just how quick it can be taken away. And if we keep going down the the path that a Trudeau government wants us to take us, it's going to be sooner rather than later, and it's going to hit people fast, and there's going to be a lot of backlash. In that, the faster this stuff happens, the less chance people have to prepare for it, which means the more mad people are going to be when it happens, which means the more problems that are going to happen when it happens. So if Alberta and or Saskatchewan left, then we would be overwhelmingly immune from that kind of stuff. Let it happen to Eastern Canada and Vancouver area. It doesn't make any sense in that. I don't see why Alberta and Saskatchewan couldn't handle things on their own. I mean, the U.S. would want to trade. I mean, we'd be a very big trading partner, and with other countries. The rest of Canada would be hurt because we could finally, get our. I mean, the only problem would be it would be tougher to get our oil to the market because we'd have to basically pay BC to. I mean, assuming they didn't join in, but we'd have to pay BC to build pipelines to the coast and then do it. Basically, would be our only option, or we could build our own down to the U.S. So that'd be basically the options as far as that goes. But I guess to sum it up, if you're an Albertan and you're disappointed in this kind of stuff and you don't want separation, then you don't really have any balls to be. I mean, I know it's kind of a blunt way to put it, but that's the only way it can be put, because if you actually care about, I mean, it's a put your money where your mouth is scenario, in that we've been pushed around for so long and so much that how much more can we put up with? Because, I mean, like I said, if Canada keeps going down this rabbit hole, things are going to collapse, and they're going to collapse within most people that are alive nowadays lifetime, because the amount of debt that's being you put in by the Trudeau government is unsustainable. The immigration numbers are unsustainable, and that's for the simple reason that if you keep bringing in people that are overwhelmingly net negatives on society, then you're going to lose out in the end. So I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to keep talking about this. So if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.